So what I see with my clients more frequently than not is most salespeople that you hire are order takers. They are not consultants. They are so excited to have a 4-minute conversation and get that contract right in front of your prospect. You need to slow down. You need to ask better questions during discovery. Here are, in no particular order, my favorite 7 discovery questions. The first one is about defining real need. What's changed to make this a priority now? One of my favorite questions of all time. You're going to get a lot out of that.
Why is it important? Like, what is it about that question that is so important?
Because this is your why. This is your real why.
What is the weirdest answer you've ever gotten to that question?
Wow. Jeez. More time. All right, here, let me give you, instead of a weird answer, when someone can't give me a real why or attach it to organization goals, I'm throwing a red flag. It's either not real or I'm not talking to the right person. The why, the true why, if you can figure that out, you're going to evolve from an order taker to a consultant, right? That's what they call the value distance. People, your prospects, your buyers think they want something. By asking why, we're going to figure out what they really need.
And this question right here, just as my color commentary, would have saved me several hair follicles. Like when we started Clever Funnel, the moment somebody said, hey, we're interested in you, I'd be like, great, let's spend time together. And then I'll do like 14 hours and I'll do a proposal. And then I'll follow up with a proposal 17 times without any of this understanding.
You got it. You got it. And it's all going to come, as we wrap this up, it's all going to come to predictability. You ask better questions, your opportunities are going to become a lot more predictable. My favorite question number 2. What do you think the right solution is? We talked about car, right? Buying a car. We got to the Honda dealership. My wife was set on the Pilot. She said, I want a Pilot. If the salesperson at the Honda dealership, after listening to my wife, said, I hear you, but let's go test drive an Accord, what would happen?
I'm going to guess your balance, right? Like, so if you would have gone in and like, this is the bike I want, and somebody would have been like, yeah, but no, you really don't want that bike. You're like, fuck you, man. I've done 60 hours of research.
Worst case scenario, you don't feel listened to. Best case scenario, the onus of education now lies on the salesperson to change the buyer's mind. The third piece here is a red flag. All my digital marketers, if you had a prospect call you up and they said, hey, I need to rank. I need to rank on page 1 for Google, and I want the solution to be 100% backlinks. What are you going to say?
I would say no.
You're going to throw a red flag, right? Knowing what they think the right solution is, you're either listening to them and matching it, you have onus of education, or you're going to throw a huge red flag, making this opportunity a lot more predictable. Number 3, what's driving timelines on your end?
God, this makes me want to cry. How many times have I fucked this question up?
Seasonality for a lot of your clients, maybe big CES conference, maybe a lot of different things, maybe the end of quarter goals. You made a joke, just following up, just following up, just following up. The reason why we keep saying just following up and chasing the same opportunity by email for 9 months is because we don't have anything that they're working towards. As soon as I know what you're working towards, boop, 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 I'm building my sale backwards, saying, okay, if you need value by X date, and the engagement's going to take 8 weeks, and I need 2 weeks to onboard you, and then we need to work through proposal and contract for another 4 weeks, okay, well, you need to have made your decision by X, or you're not going to get value by Y. That is the way to sell.
Founders have fucked this up. I think this is the one that I fucked up probably the most along the way, is because I just assumed that the fact that they reached out and then went through some sort of qualification process meant that they were ready to sign, right? They weren't. And so what did I do? I spent a fuck ton of my time and energy trying to move somebody towards a close that was not ready to close, right? So profound.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you consider putting that in the middle funnel?
Repeat the question.
So for the sake of this talk, let's say it wasn't till the bottom of the funnel that you had that first person-to-person interaction. Do you see what I'm saying? So this is the first time right now that boom, I get to really talk to you, I get to really ask you the right questions before we move to proposal. Fair enough? Okay. How many account management teams have lost clients because you think you're killing it, but the client doesn't think you're killing it because nobody knows what success looks like? What's your definition of success? What are you trying to accomplish? I need marketing. I need to increase revenue. Okay, great. By how much? What do you really need? What are the actual KPIs attached to organization-wide goals? If you don't know this, you're going to have a heck of a time pleasing the client, understanding what success looks like to retain that client.
I'm going to just.
This is screwed up all the time.
And I still think as a founder, I think it's even more profound, right? Because as founders, we're also trying to develop a product at the same time, right? So this right here is not only giving you an indication of what it is, like what you can measure your success and whether or not you can claim victory, but it's also telling you what you need to build next. It's also giving you indication of your product or service, whether or not you're on track or right track. So I come in as a growth marketer and be like, Jay, hey, what's your definition of success? Because I'm a growth marketer. And you say, how many, I don't know, like, you know,
Increase my website visits.
yeah. And I go, oh, okay, that's a pretty easy one. But what if he says something to the effect of, hey, listen, I have a shitty product, and I need you to sell it for me. Right? Good fit, bad fit? Do I have to do something different? Is that the right fit for us? Point being here is this is a huge question to help you as a founder make sure you have product market fit, which is really what we're all looking for, right, as founders?
Not what is your budget, how did you come up with a budget? Look how these two fit. What does success look like? Given that this is what success looks like, how did you come up with budget? It is very difficult for most salespeople. Nobody really wants to say, what's your budget? By saying, how did you come up with a budget? That's your way in to then get to what is your budget. If they don't know what success looks like, how do you know how much to spend? You just have just money there. Even if the person you're talking to says they don't know and they don't care, someone in the organization cares. There's no way that a CFO is going to stamp a check without some type of ROI analysis, without understanding the value before they assign a budget. Don't ask it as what, ask it as how.
Be honest. How many of you are a little bit terrified to ask this question?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Right? The budget question.
Not as
This
what?
is the best way to ask the budget question, though, right?
How?
Why would you be scared of asking?
Oh, well, because you're tougher than we are, Joe. And better looking.
All right, two more. Who else are you talking to? If a client finds me off of a Google search and they're talking to 12 other people, how excited about this opportunity am I? Not very. They say, hey, I'm talking to you and maybe one other person, and you were a referral from XYZ. I'm going to give that pretty good priority. I want to know who else, even if you don't tell me the names. Are you looking at 2 other companies? Are you looking at 5? Are you potentially considering doing it in-house? What am I up against? It's going to increase your predictability on these deals. And the last one, this is exactly how you articulate it. Who all, in addition to yourself, is involved in making the decision? I can't tell you how many times my sales teams, where did the contract? We got this. Oh, we have a decision maker that came in from left field, and now we're renegotiating everything. I'm not saying you need to talk to every decision maker, but you need to know that they're there. You need to know how they're making decisions. You need to know what success looks like. You cannot ask your brother to borrow your dad's car. We got to at least know. All right, so the big wrap up here on these questions is what I'm seeing founders, what I'm seeing sales teams do is every salesperson takes notes differently. Every salesperson asks different questions. Most salespeople don't care about asking that many questions. They got to get to contract. Your number one takeaway on the bottom of the funnel, build some type of discovery framework. What do I mean by a framework? Anyone want to shout out what I mean by a discovery framework?
Something that's replicable.
Some call template, some list of questions that you either want to remind yourself to ask every time, or that your salespeople need to try to do their best. That doesn't mean we need every question answered to close the deal, but we got to try. It needs to be in some type of matrix. You are going to evolve yourself and your salespeople from order takers to consultants. By answering these questions, you're going to make your opportunities more predictable. And number 3, you're going to have a ton of efficiencies on communication. If you need to bring in a subject matter expert, you need to bring in a tech guy or gal, you want to get your account management team off to a great start. Well, hey, give them these notes. Not this chicken scratch in your Trapper Keeper or whatever you've been doing on your Word doc. Get them in some type of template. You're going to see a ton of benefits.
True or false? Do you own a Trapper Keeper?
In the 90s, I did. I thought this was a 90s theme, man. All right. By going through an initial round of discovery, asking the right questions, you're going to be able to get to some type of lead score. All leads are not created equal. That doesn't mean if it's not an amazing lead, I'm going to kick it out the door. But what it does mean is I know how much time and energy to put into it. It means I'm not going to chase you for 40,000 hours if I see a bunch of red flags on there. It means if somebody if say 5 out of 5 is the best, I want all hands on deck. I want my founders there. I want my best and brightest in that sales pitch. If not, no big deal. But now in your CRM, now in your sales pipeline, there's context to these deals based on discovery, based on lead score. Now we know what's really in there.
My question to you is, so based on the previous discovery framework,
Sure.
how many of those, if I see one red flag, am I saying, forget about it?
No,
Like, is it 2 red flags? Like, what's sort of your moment where you say, like, look, this is not a good qualified lead?
it's going to vary from company to company, and I don't care what those decisions are. I just care everybody in the organization is all on the same page with what those lead scores mean. That's all I say. Usually, if there's a sales manager, the discovery happens, it goes to the sales manager, they read through the red flags, and then they get to make that decision, or the founder gets to make that decision. So it's really going to be some discretion as long as there's a single main point of contact making the same decision over and over again, or there's rules in place.
I would say, too, just as a founder, like the first sale you're ever going to make, you might accept a couple red flags.
Of course.
But then you're the 50th sale.
Right, but if you have 50 red flags, you close it, push it through, and then you can only retain it for 60 days. Is anybody really surprised?
Right.
What's more costly? Leaving a little bit of money on the table or putting trash through your pipeline, getting it all ramped up, and now I got a churn problem on the back end? You got to be able to make better decisions based off of the answers to discovery.
That's pretty funny, Jenny.
All right, let's keep, yeah.
Can you go over the sales mantra of there's an actual no or just a not yet?
Say it again.
So, there's the idea that if someone shows interest, right, you can have a bunch of red flags, but they're not at that point. It's not yet, but a prospect is still a prospect until you get them.
Okay.
Is that the way you look at it, or do you see?
I mean, I like to throw up let's talk about it after. I don't want to fight that hard to get them through. I want to facilitate buying more than, we just talked about the Wolf of Wall Street. I don't want to have to pressure you in because it's never going to work out on the other side of the close into account management. I've never seen something that I've pushed through, and I've pushed a lot of shit through. Trust me, I was commission-based for a while. Anything you're pushing through because you're salespeople, I got to get this, I got to hit my budget. I got to make this commission. Just by the virtue of putting that type of pressure on a salesperson, they're going to push that stuff through. I personally now, I'm a consultant. I want to do what's best for the organization. I would rather see sales pipelines look lean with good stuff in it that you're going to retain than no means not yet. Let's give. I don't want to hammer you. I don't want to hammer you. I'll chase you 3 times after you submit a lead form. Past that, let's recycle it. Let's keep in touch. Let's put them on a drip campaign, but I do not want to push you that hard because you're just putting trash into the organization.
What I would say is then we go back to the top of the funnel, right? So then we start to cultivate again. Right?
All right, quick story. We're pivoting to process. My Broncos fans, who's this dickhead? Boo! 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 All right. Anybody know Bill Belichick?
I've come to actually fucking respect this guy. I still
Oh, that's,
hate him.
all right, so here's,
Respect him.
I know, that's why I got him up here. That's why I got him up here. Okay, anybody know his origin story? Just say no so I can tell you the story. I love the story. Okay.
No, Jay.
Bill Belichick has had football running in his family for generations. When it was time for him to get his first job in the NFL, he could not break in. Bill Belichick could not get a job in the NFL. His friends made fun of him. His dad was disappointed in him. He couldn't get a job. So you know what he did? He took a job working for free for the Baltimore Colts. Chris, do you know what he was doing for free for his first job with the Baltimore Colts?
I believe he was in the film room, wasn't he?
That's it.
Cheating?
All right, let's keep the Patriots jokes to a minimum because I know where everybody's going after this. All right. Watching film, analyzing hundreds of hours of film, doing the worst grunt work. But from that grunt work came Bill Belichick's philosophy on football. From that grunt work came Bill Belichick's system, his football processes. He's been blessed with a ton of star players. But you want to know? He's also had some so-so players and still won a ton of games. Because what's his mantra?
Do your job.
I wrote it on there for you, and you still said cheat. Jesus. If the Broncos would win, I could put a different coach up here. All right. Do your job, because the football system, Bill Belichick's system, Bill Belichick's process is bigger than just one star. His system is bigger, and he tells his players, do your job. That's what a sales process does. A sales process takes something super complex and breaks it down into simple steps, right? Even a sales process that isn't working well is better than no process at all, because consistent systems can be improved upon. You cannot improve random systems. So let me bring this to what I see. You're the founder of an organization. You have one salesperson that's been with you for a few years. He or she is a cowboy or a cowgirl. They are making you hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars a year. And they are holding your entire organization hostage.
Hey, would you make sure you come to the 8 a.m. all hands meeting? No.
Bad for culture, constant fire drills, saying yes to any client request, making your execution team stay all night, just total nightmare to work with. But you know what? That founder cannot get rid of that salesperson because you're holding the whole place hostage. And what's worse, the founder cannot drop salesperson number 2 or salesperson number 3 because there's no process. Nobody knows what this cowboy or cowgirl is doing. So the whole organization is hostage. It's a toxic culture because you don't have a system. Be more like this guy, where your all-star, where your cowboy or your cowgirl is just dropped in. Tell them to do their job because you have a bigger system in place. This is generic. This is about 95% of everyone's sales process in here. Take a minute and look at it. This should be the stages of your client-facing sales process.
Were you ever the sales cowboy?
Oh, yeah.
Were you?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Did you ever not show up to 8 a.m. all hands meetings?
I was never that cocky. No, I got that people pleaser in me. I never did that. But yeah, yeah.
Who here had that, by the way? Like, who has worked in an organization where there's just an asshole salesperson?
Yeah. Okay. The point I want to make here on the sales process, and we're going to wrap this up. The point I want to make here is I have founders come to me and say, Jay, I got $600,000 in contract. I need to close them. Help me close them. Okay, maybe. Or maybe closing is not something you do here, but closing is something you do all along the way. This is steps. So then I investigate a little further, and I'm like, tell me how we got $600,000 in the contract. And they say, well, mostly my salespeople get a lead, talk to the prospect for 10 or 15 minutes. Whatever information the prospect gives, they give. And then we send them a contract. We send them a contract. I mean, do you owe somebody something, talking to them for 15 minutes and they send you a contract by email? I don't know. That's why it goes dark. They don't owe you anything, right?
One of my favorite things too is that founders, once you guys are all like, and I'm sure every founder in the room will now be a part of a 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 person company, and you're going to be the CEO of that company, and you're going to come to the quarter end, and you're going to go to your VP of sales or VP of marketing or VP of growth and say, hey man, we're coming to the quarter end. We should really work to close some more sales.
Yeah.
Really? You're going to work, like, you've got a bunch of people in discovery, like, suddenly I'm going to figure out a way, my entire sales team is going to figure out a way to just skip through this process?
I love it. I love it. And create some urgency.
Create some urgency out
You're
there.
not going to create urgency in someone's buying process. You're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe if I got
I mean,
a timeline.
if I discount the shit out of it, maybe, but
We're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're not doing that.
not doing that today.
Anybody know the Ben Franklin effect by show of hands? You want to scream it out? Okay.
By the way, do you think if I grew my hair long, that I would look like Ben Franklin?
Kinda.
Stole it.
Yeah, I think I could do it. I think I could pull it off.
I love it. All right, so what the Ben Franklin effect means is if I do something for you, you don't necessarily like me anymore. But if you do a favor for me, it makes you have more affinity towards me. Cognitive dissonance. So the quick story is Ben Franklin had an arch nemesis. It was a legislator and they hated each other's guts. They totally hated each other's guts, and Ben wanted to get him on his side. So instead of doing a favor for this legislator, Ben said, hey, I heard you have this dope book on lightning. I'm making that part up. But he did say, I heard you have this amazing book of oddities. I would love to borrow that book, and I'll give it back to you in a few days. The legislator was like, sure, Ben. Gave him the book. Ben Franklin gave it back with a note. They were friends ever since. By having someone do something for you, you're getting them to invest. And they have to say, do I like this person enough to continue the conversation? Do I like this person enough to take them to the airport? Do I like this person enough to borrow their book? So, back to my salespeople that on the first discovery, I can't wait to dump. I can't wait to sell and give you every piece of information on our product, on our service. I can't wait to go as quick as I can and then send you that contract. That's the exact opposite of the Ben Franklin effect. We don't want to dump everything at the same time. We want to do it a little bit at a time. Give somebody in here in professional services. Anybody want to raise their hand for me? Yeah, are you? Okay. Professional services, what is your average sales cycle? How long does it take? Just in time, just average. 3 months. I think that's fair. 3 months. When are you done selling? I'm sorry, I'm not going to attack you. When is your team done selling? Like you've given the prospect or the buyer everything they need. Yeah, to make a decision. Yeah, but give me.
I'd say probably 2 months for us. Like,
Okay,
I mean, so
2 months.
I would agree. I'm about 90 days in, and by 2 months, I've probably given everybody. I've given them this stuff.
Okay. You weren't the example I was looking for. No, I'm kidding. What I usually hear is average sales cycle is 2 to 3 months, and the salespeople are done selling in about 2 weeks. What are you doing from week 3 to day 90? Hey man, just following up. Just following up. I'm just following up. We need to find a way to slow this down and get that information out. So now, as my sales manager, as my founder that I want to scale my team, we got lead. Does that lead look good enough to go after and have a conversation and actually give them our time? Sure. Boom. You cannot pitch. You cannot go to proposal. You cannot give a demo unless you've done your darndest to get those 7 questions filled out in that discovery framework. That's just the way we operate because I want this predictable. Then, once you've gotten that demo or proposal, I want them to say, yes, I'd like to see a contract. I'd like to see an SOW. Let's get the MSA going. So now I've closed you 3 times. What's my percentage of closing contract now? Should be up to 80, 90% because I've done all the right things. The prospect has agreed to come with me. And more importantly, they've had to make the decision to invest their time. As opposed to the buyer's job is to tell you as little information as possible and get the price as quick as possible. That's not what we want to do. We want to slow down. All right, I'm going to wrap here. Part number 3, this is the last one, my founders. I have clients and the founder or the CEO says, I want to stop selling. I'm tired, I'm good, it's time to hire in a VP of sales. Well, guess what, founders? You are very special. You know your product or service in and out. You are the head of the company. You're probably pretty charismatic, and if not very charismatic, you believe in your product more than anything in the world. And you intuitively know how to get a ball down the field in order to close. Here's the catch. You are not going to find a single VP of sales that is going to replace you 100%.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Damn it.
9 times out of 10, if the founder steps out, you need to move to a team sell. You gotta move to a team sell. A salesperson that knows how to build rapport, knows how to be likable and trustworthy, knows how to build a connection, has business acumen, and then maybe somebody as smart as you, a subject matter expert that's gonna ride along at the right time to be able to provide the additional value. You're not gonna be able to pull a VP of sales in and replace yourself one-to-one. If that VP of sales was that talented, guess what? They'd be a founder.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. The other thing we could talk about with specialization of sales roles is my founders want to stop doing everything. Awesome. Here's what I want you to do. After closed comes account management. Go hire some account managers, founders, and stop being the account manager. And then up front, hire a low-cost resource that can at least chase down the lead, maybe do a first stab at discovery, maybe even get all 7 of those questions answered. But my founders, I'm probably going to want you to sit here for a long time. If you want to specialize sales roles, though, pull it into you in the middle, and you're not going to be able to jump out until you got yourself a well-oiled machine. Takeaways: discovery framework, consistent sales process, and specialize your sales roles. That's for your bottom of the funnel.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jay Bates, everybody.
Yay!